This is Luc, and he runs a software company in the sales industry. And my name is Albertus Bernardus, pharmaceutical scientist and founder of Pinnacle Health Systems, where we help entrepreneurs optimize their health so they can perform at their absolute best. Today, Luc is going to walk us through his health and performance challenges, and we are going to help him build the foundation so he can scale his business to $1 million and beyond without burning out. He has the drive, he has the skill, and now it's time to make his body match his ambitions.
So could you briefly introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, definitely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. My name is Luc. I am from the Netherlands. I'm 28 years old. And 2.5 years ago, I founded SaaS, which is a software company. We have a small team right now of 5 people. We're expected to do about 300 to 400K in revenue this year. And I am responsible for the commercial side of the business, so getting new clients essentially.
So what are your current, the biggest struggles with your health and performance?
Yeah, so one thing I've been struggling with my whole life is bad sleep quality. I have a lot of trouble sleeping in. So when I go to bed, for example, at 11 p.m., it's not uncommon that I sleep 3 hours later. And I just lay awake staring at the ceiling for a couple hours. And I think that affects a lot the energy levels I have throughout the day, and also the focus in my work. So that's why it's also in that order. I think if we fix the sleep, then that also has a very positive impact on the other 2 points that I wrote down here.
Okay. And could you kind of explain to me a little bit more about the lost focus after first meals?
Yeah, so I do intermittent fasting for a long time now, because I really like the focus I have in the first couple hours of the day. That's when I do my deep work. That's when I make the most progression in the work that needs to be done. But almost always after I eat my first meal, which is usually at 1 or 2 p.m., then I just crash. And it's very hard to remain the focus, to get work done, to stay sharp in meetings, because it's night and day difference. The first couple hours of the day and the last couple hours.
And does this always happen after any meal or just that meal?
From what I can remember, it's all meals. But obviously we can dive into what I'm eating. So maybe that's the problem, but.
Okay. All right. It's pretty clear. So what is your current plan and routine as of now?
Yeah, so most days look kind of like this. So I wake up 7:30, 8 a.m. First 30 minutes is just simple. Try to drink like a liter of water. I take a shower, usually cold, which wakes me up. Then I read the vision. Well, you do the same probably, but you have go into the day with clear intention. What do I need to do? What am I working towards? Then I always try to start the day with at least 2 or 3 deep work blocks. So that's 3 hours of deep work, working on the most high leverage task that needs to be done that day. Try to not look at my phone too much. Don't do any meetings. And then around 1 p.m., that's when we have a lunch break. I always walk to the Albert Heijn. It's like a 20-minute walk. So I have some sunlight. I'm outside, and then I eat my first meal, which is maybe should I dive into a little bit of what I'm eating?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it's like Greek yogurt, like quark. It's not the same, but I don't know the translation. Magere quark. Oatmeal, about 100 grams. A banana, blueberries, about 100 grams. Some peanut butter, like a tablespoon. Some honey. And let's see what else. I just mix that in one bowl. So it's quite a big yogurt meal. It's about 1100 calories, about 75 grams of protein. And that's what I eat. And then after the afternoon, I usually do my meetings and reactive work. So from 2 to approximately 5. If I work out, it's usually in the late afternoon, so 5 p.m. So I take like 2 hours for that, 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. I eat dinner, and then usually after dinner I go back to the office for an hour or two to do some like not deep work but small tasks, planning the next day, do some admin work, stuff like that. And I usually have about an hour to unwind, read a book, and then at 11 p.m. usually the lights go off.
All right, that's pretty clear. So what's then your dream outcome in terms of your health and performance?
Yeah, what would be a game changer for me, what would be my dream outcome is that I would achieve better sleep quality and recovery consistently. Sometimes I sleep a couple days all right, and then I immediately feel so much better. I get more work done, I'm more energized, I'm more happy overall. But those couple of days of good sleep are almost always followed by a couple of days and usually more days of bad sleep, which causes me to feel fatigued, a very inconsistent energy balance throughout the day. So if I can fix that, then I will be very happy, man, because I'm convinced that I would be able to be more productive. I will be more proactive in, I don't know, the social activities, right? So I think my life quality overall will be a lot better if I fix those things.
All right, pretty clear. And what's then like your biggest problem in kind of solving this yourself? Like, why have you been stuck with this for so long?
Yeah, I think I just lack the knowledge, man. It's not that I have a bad routine. I know I'm eating pretty healthy. I'm doing a lot of things all right, I guess, but I just don't know where to optimize from here. I don't have a background in this. I heard a lot of things from different people. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody knows better, but I don't know what the solution is.
All right, perfect. Now let's dive in and show you the solution. All right, so let's dive in. So whenever I'm working with my one-on-one clients, we always execute these 6 pillars, which are optimal sleep, precision nutrition, cognitive excellence, prime training, and medicinal diagnostic and target supplementation, and protocols. So if I understand correctly, your biggest issue stems from your sleep issues. So let's just dive into that straight away and figure out, okay, what is actually some things we can do there. Okay, delete it. Oh no. Delete. So one of the things I saw in your case is that, first of all, we have the duration. So you have to wind down from 11, and then it takes around 2 hours, sometimes you say, to fall asleep, right? So there's a big issue there with actually winding down. Now, one thing we must understand is that your sleep duration does not equal quality. So the reason that you wake up in the morning is always caused by the fact that your REM or deep sleep is fragmented. So usually you have these sleep cycles, which take 1.5 hours on average. Whenever you wake up short, so you wake up in between these sleep cycles, you can wake up groggy and more tired. So what does this mean? You can sleep 8 hours, but if your REM or deep sleep is not optimal, you can still wake up tired. And therefore we have to understand, okay, what is actually affecting the quality. Now, you mentioned that you already did some wind down routine, especially reading. So what I usually see in entrepreneurs is that they want to be very, very productive, always, so that they are reading a very productive book, right? Something which actually teaches them something about their business or how they can improve their business, which actually activates them at night.
Straight line leadership.
Yeah, exactly. So it is counterintuitive because you're reading a book which then gives you ideas to how to run your business, which then indirectly activates your brain, which is something you actually don't want to do. So if you actually want to read those books, you should actually just don't do it before bed, because then you actually activate your brain, and you should instead do something which really calms you down and not activates you. So what I love to do is I either read like philosophy or some really chill books, go for a walk, or do some yoga which can be stretching, or like a Shakti mat, which is like the mat with like the nails, right? These three things can already make a massive difference, because essentially you want your body to really calm down and not be activated, right? And then thirdly, for most entrepreneurs, one thing is always very high during the day is stress, right? And funnily enough, can I draw something here? Yeah, show great. Funnily enough, magnesium is one of the biochemicals which is active in more than 300 reactions in our body related to also stress. So this is one of the chemicals which is depleted most often. So what we can do, and in your case, I would recommend to implement this literally directly, is supplement with magnesium, taurine, glycine, and epigenin. So taurine helps with reducing stress. It improves the onset of sleep. Magnesium also reduces stress, and it improves your deep sleep quality. And epigenin specifically helps with falling asleep more quicker. And I think almost guarantee that if you implement this sleep stack, combine it with, let's say, a walk or chill breathing or literally some yoga or stretching at night, it's almost guaranteed that you fall asleep way more quicker and you actually get into those deep and deep quality sleep phases. Is that clear so far?
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Is it like, do you have links on the right ones, or doesn't it matter which one I get?
So obviously there are some important things here. I can send it over afterwards. But these are the four supplements I would implement. For magnesium, you want to be using 2 milligrams, either glycinate or threonate. But in our case, we're using glycine already, so we would just stick to threonate. Why is that important? Threonate is the only magnesium who can actually enter your brain. And in the brain, the sleep is basically, let's say, created, right? Like that's where the magic happens. So we want the magnesium in our brain, not just in our blood, in our body, right? So that's why we take magnesium threonate. For taurine, we are supplementing with anywhere between 1 to 3 grams. Depends on how you react on it. I usually supplement with like 2 grams, but I think you are slightly taller, right?
A little bit, I think.
A little bit, yeah. So you could potentially go with 3 grams. So that's obviously something why you can always experiment with the dosage, because you're a little bit bigger. You have, I think, a little bit more volume in your blood. So it can always be worth to test with higher dosages. Glycine, we want to use 10 grams. And for epigenin, we are using 50 milligrams. So this stack can already improve massively your sleep quality and the sleep onset.
Okay, and is this something you take before bed, or is it supplemented throughout the day?
Yeah, so this is basically done simultaneously with the wind down routine. So at 11, you take the supplements and you do your wind down, and then it's good. So this is basically at night. And again, if you do this and we fix the sleep quality, it's almost guaranteed that you, as you mentioned, you have way more focus, more energy. Like your baseline is just higher, right? Because essentially what you're doing overnight is just recharging the battery, and now we're recharging it faster and better. So that's exactly what we want to do. Now, that's the sleep part. So let's just dive into the cognitive excellence one, because I felt that that's one of the most important ones for you as well. So one thing we must understand specifically about having energy the entire day and focus the entire day is understanding where does it actually come from, right? And having energy the entire day is produced by your mitochondria, which are essentially the motors of your body, right? That's like the engine of your body, the mitochondria. So how does the engine of our body work, right? It works by having oxygen and nutrients, and it gets those by blood flow. Now, what happens usually with almost all people I'm working with is that they just sit down and they work, right? And what happens if you sit down and work for a long period of time? Your blood flow just collapses. It gets very slow, which directly then affects the capacity of your mitochondria to produce energy. So in simple terms, you should just move every 90 to 120 minutes. It's not like 10 minutes of walking. It's literally just, you could do 20 squats, like 20 push-ups or whatever, and that's already enough to get it going, right? Ideally go outside for a quick fresh air break. So I don't like smokers, but one thing they do well is going for a smoke break for like 2 minutes, because that just helps with getting some fresh oxygen instead of like the still office oxygen, and just get some movement in. So if you do that, you have the basis already for having energy, right? Now, one thing is, which is also interesting, is that your brain is using glucose, this sugar, as its fuel. So you can literally see, if you test it, that your glucose is going down once you are working. So every 90 to 120 minutes, it can be very beneficial to have like a quick sugary snack in terms of like either fruit or some honey. I don't recommend like processed carbs, so don't bread or whatever. So some quick snack to refuel. And one major issue in your case, and is that your meals directly affect your focus and energy. Now, this can be caused by two reasons. Either the quality of your meals is very low, or you have underlying gut issues, which is causing inflammation. So I actually wanted to show you something. So all right. So here is a quick example of a gut test I have done with one of my clients. So I'll just point you to the right direction and explain why this matters a lot. So here, what you see here is zonulin, which is the marker of leaky gut. Now, why is that important? If you have a leaky gut, which literally means that normally your gut is like this, right? It's strong, it's together. So it can basically keep out all the bad bacteria, the food particles, everything which in your gut just stays in the gut and doesn't basically leak into your blood. Now, if that's leaky, literally there are gaps in between your cell and stuff can leak into your bloodstream, causing issues. Now, whenever you are eating and you are getting brain fog, your energy crashes, you feel tired, that is literally the direct effect of your gut having some sort of issues. And therefore, the reason that you experience literally tiredness after every meal could be that you have leaky gut. Now, there's no way to tell unless you actually do a gut test, but this might be a primary issue in your case. Then secondary, let's go back to the Miro. Obviously, the low quality meals. So what I would do in your case specifically is focus on better quality meals, which help you to have stable energy and focus the entire day. Now, that quark is in combination with the oats, and the sugar is very high in like carbohydrates. So what I ideally do myself is that you want to adjust your diet for stable energy, which means that you should focus on meals before lunch or like till lunch, only on protein, fat, and fiber. So no carbohydrates. So ideally, what a meal then looks like for you is you have some sort of meat, fish, or poultry, combined with some fat and some vegetables, right? So what could this be? Let's say a steak with 4 eggs and let's say 200-300 grams of vegetables. That is literally what I would do in your case, because this just provides you with stable energy the entire day so you can focus. And then when you are getting closer to the gym or at night, I would add some carbohydrates to fuel, let's say, your workouts. Is that clear so far? Any questions?
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking about is usually I work in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would have to meal prep, because right now I don't really have a way of, for example, cooking the steak.
Mm-hmm.
make a full warm meal at midday?
Yeah. So meal prepping is like one of these things I think you can do. I think a lot of my clients are actually doing that. For example, with Hugo, he actually is using a meal prep company to reduce time. So there are a lot of solutions for that to get still the right nutrition, like either meal prep on Sunday or Saturday for the entire week, or actually use a meal prep service.
And then like closer to the training, you would add carbohydrates. So
Yes.
what would you advise
So
for?
in general, actually, that meal you're now having as lunch, I would probably take it as the pre-workout. So yogurt with oats and some honey and some fruit. That is like the perfect pre-workout meal because it's incredibly high in carbohydrates. That could also be the reason why you have that crash, but that's why I would take it. Now, again, in your case, if you have this crash after every meal, it just could mean that you have gut issues. But again, that's hard to tell.
Don't think it's
Sorry?
Listening to your story, I don't think that's the case. I just think I eat a lot of high carbohydrate meals.
Okay, that's that might be a thing then, because obviously if you do have issues after each meal, then that could be the case. But also, for example, for Hugo, he did not experience a lot of issues, but he still had a lot of room for improvement after figuring out this test. But again, the switch to just reducing carbohydrates, specifically like say the oats, and just sticking to protein, fat, and fiber, at least for the first part of the day, can already make a huge difference in terms of energy.
And two follow-up questions. The intermittent fasting, is that would you advise that, or is it okay? Does it really matter?
That depends basically on your physical goal. So I remember that you told me that you want to gain some muscle, right?
I want to get stronger. I would like to get a little bit more muscle, but I want to bench 140 kgs.
Yeah. So with intermittent fasting, essentially you have 2 meals where you can then get all of your calories. So what we in your case should do is, first of all, you need to actually know how much do you need to eat. So that's called total daily energy expenditure, which probably in your case would be around like 3.5 thousand calories, I think. And we then have to adjust that for your physical goal. Now, then it's up to you if you can make that work. So let's say we find out you need to eat 3.5 thousand calories. If you can eat that in, let's say, in a window from 12 to 8, that's fine. But it's just about how you're able to hit that goal. Now, I personally think that if you start your day with a strong breakfast, such as, let's say, steak, eggs, some vegetables, you don't get that crash. So that would also make it easier. But again, intermittent fasting is basically only used either for fat loss or, as you mentioned, focus. But I understand that you're actually using it because you get like the energy crash because of the meals you eat, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I think if you can just switch it up to protein, fat, and fiber, that energy crash won't happen, and then you don't have to intermittent fast, which will also make it easier for you to hit these physical goals, right? Because eating 3.5k calories in a day while also working the entire day is incredibly difficult, right?
Yeah. You end up with just eating a big bowl of rice with chicken or steak
Yeah.
in the evening, which is 1,700 calories. But that's like, it should be more evenly divided, I think.
Exactly. So it's easier for you to get stronger, to gain muscle if you kind of split it up in like 3 meals. So you have breakfast, you have lunch, and you have dinner, and then maybe like a pre-workout snack. That's like one of the easiest ways to actually also get stronger. Because obviously, if you want to get stronger, you need to eat enough protein, you need to eat enough calories. And I think in your case, in general, we are eating too little. Obviously, I haven't tracked it, but that's what I think. Is that clear so far?
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
All right. So that again would also be like the biggest ROI move. So switching that meal, getting the movement sorted out. And then what you can do is, and this is what I personally use, and I really like it. There are some focus supplements you could use, which in this case is L-theanine, ginkgo, biloba, and caffeine. So this just helps you to get in that deep flow state. Actually, caffeine here is a caffeine pill. Uh, I just noticed it's the easiest for me, but you could also just take a cup of coffee no later than 2 p.m. But this is a good supplement stack you could use for focus.
Okay.
All right.
Is
And
coffee
then,
like coffee is okay, a couple cups as long as it's not later than 2 p.m.
yeah, so I would ideally stick to like at max two. Most of the times I only take like 1 cup of coffee or like 1 caffeine supplement, because it can take up to 8 hours to kind of get removed from your blood, and then that could affect your sleep quality. So one interesting thing about this is that with some of my clients, I actually run genetic tests to also see how they respond to, for example, caffeine. And it could be, I don't know how much coffee you drink, but do you drink, how much coffee you drink?
Usually 3 cups a day.
What it could be is that if you are a hyper responder, it means that your body just takes way longer to process the caffeine, and therefore it stays longer in your body. So that could kind of affect your sleep quality, but there's no way to tell. So you could already experiment with seeing, okay, what if I reduce 3 cups to 1 cup or maybe even zero, and how that then affects your ability to fall asleep quickly.
Well,
Right. Then let's move on to the precision nutrition. So we already briefly went over this. So what is actually very important for us is then, first of all, figure out how much you actually need to eat. So this is very simple. You literally just Google total daily energy expenditure, fill in your height, your age, your activity level, which is basically the average amount of steps you're getting. And then just calculate, okay, what is my goal? So in your case, you want to get stronger, but you also want to gain muscle, and you want to stay at the same level, right? So
body fat. Yeah.
yeah. So basically you want to stay at maintenance. You can literally fill it in. It gives you a caloric number. And then it's just for you to hit that every single day. Because if you do so, then you'll just know by fact that you will gain the muscle and reach your goals. So that's that. Then obviously you want to optimize for micronutrients. What does this mean? Micronutrients actually make or break your energy, right? So we talked about how your mitochondria use nutrients. This is actually the stuff what we're then talking about, micronutrients, which are vitamins, minerals. And the easiest way for you to figure out, okay, how that is looking is by tracking your food in chronometer for 3 days. It's very simple. Every day you just track your food and you get like a summary of all the micronutrients you have consumed. And then you can very easily see, okay, I'm missing vitamin A, I'm missing vitamin C, D, and then literally just make a plan to incorporate foods on a daily basis which are high in the stuff you're missing. And then you can already create a way better base. And then lastly,
How would
obviously,
you track that then? Because I understand tracking calories. I'm used to do it with protein, carbs, and fats, but not with micronutrients. Are there like apps for that? Or?
Yeah. So it's called Chronometer. Chronometer is very simple. It's just you put in your meals, and then at the end of the day, you just get a summary of essentially what you have consumed, right? So just, okay, you're consumed 70% of the RDA of vitamin A. So you can very easily see what you're missing and what you're getting and where you have room for improvement.
All right. Check.
All right. And then fourthly, I would implement some gut healing ingredients on a daily basis. So in this case, I would consume kefir or bone broth like every week. Why? Because this actually helps making your gut healthier. And what often people think is that you are what you eat, but in reality, you are what you absorb, right? Because that's the real magic. So if you implement kefir, which is very high in good bacteria, your gut becomes more efficient in using food, and therefore your body gets more food and gets you stronger, produces more energy, and just overall becomes more healthy. Clear? Check. All right, then go to the last one is training. So first of all, let's get some clarity on what is the exact goal you want to hit with the training.
Yeah, so obviously I would like some more muscle mass and ideally a little bit less body fat, but I'm okay with it being the same. And the primary goal is to get stronger, especially on the bench press, because I had the goal a long time ago that I wanted to bench 3 plates, squat 4 plates, deadlift 5 plates. I did the squat and the deadlift, but I have not done the bench yet. But I did it back then with gaining a lot of fat. I was just eating a lot. So I got a lot stronger, but also fatter. And now I want to do the same, but without gaining the fat. That's the goal.
Okay. So gaining muscle, getting stronger to bench press, squat. All right. So what are you currently doing with your workouts?
I train 4 times a week at the moment. I do a split. Not that consistent, to be honest, but let's say I do push, pull, legs, upper.
Okay.
And then I
push,
use
pull, legs, upper.
Yeah, push, pull, legs, upper.
And then you train your bench press like twice. I understand.
Yeah. So I start with the compound movement. So either weighted pull-ups or pull, or bench press for upper and push. And then what's it called? Those squats that you do unilateral when you're on the bench. Those are fucking brutal, but those are usually one movement.
The Bulgarian split squats.
Oh yeah, those, yeah. Very nice.
Okay. And then now you have been stuck on the same weight for a long time.
With the bench press or with my body weight?
Oh yeah, with the bench press.
Not really. I haven't benched in a long time. I used to do incline dumbbells, and I started benching like 3 weeks ago again.
Okay.
And I gained some strength already, but it's not where it should be. I think I bench 115 now, and it needs to be 140.
Okay. I think that's pretty clear. So in your case, what I actually usually see, specifically if you want to get stronger, is really figure out the food. So if you eat in a deficit, which I believe is very likely in your case, your body just does not have the materials to build the muscle. So I actually would say that figuring out your total daily energy expenditure, so how much calories you need to consume on a daily basis just to maintain your weight, is like number one goal. Because if you consistently get that right, optimize your nutrition, you will be able to create so much more muscle and get so much more strength. Like literally, once I did that well, because like a while back, like 3-4 years ago, I was stuck at like 69 kgs. And then I really started optimizing my nutrition. I just added like 9 kgs of muscle in like a span of like 1.5 years. The strength just doubled, which was absolutely crazy. And the training stayed roughly the same, right? So nutrition can actually be a huge part of getting stronger because your basis of training is already good, right? You have an upper, you have lower, you have a full body, which essentially is good. So what you can add to specifically get stronger in the push for bench press is actually weighted dips. I don't know if you're already doing that.
Not weighted, normal dips.
Okay, if you can add weighted dips, that's one of the most, I would say, anabolic exercises to create strength. Yeah, just weighted dips. I don't know if you have a belt because you say you do weighted pull-ups, right?
Yeah, I have belt.
Yeah, so use that same belt for the dips. That's literally like one of the best exercises you can do for like the push movement.
Why is that? Is it just muscles you usually don't like use or something?
It's just basically, first of all, yes, it's also like a compound movement, but you train like almost every part of your upper body. So you have your shoulders, your triceps, your chest, your abs. Like it's like one of the best compound movements, I would say, for upper body. So if you would have a perfect upper body training, in my opinion, you would have then weighted pull-ups, weighted dips. You have the bench press, you have a lat pull down, and then at the end you do some, let's say, calisthenics movements. But like weighted pull-ups and weighted dips, that combination already can make you like very strong and jacked.
Why the lat pull down?
It's just an easier way to target the lats. So, and in general, obviously, you always start with the compounds, which you already do, right? If you do compounds, you target multiple muscle groups. And then later in workouts, you want to target slightly more isolation because of the fatigue as well.
Yeah, I get it. And so you would start with like the bench, or would you start with how would you structure the training in
Yeah, so that specific training, I would then start with the weighted pull-ups, weighted dips. And then if you start with weighted pull-ups, then you do weighted dips, then you do the lat pull down, then you do the bench press. What I would say is obviously if you train to failure, because that's, by the way, the fundament of making progress, right? Is that you want to, the first set is 50%. So the first set is a warm-up set, and then the second set is 100%. So what does it look like? Suppose you can do 8 pull-ups with 20 kgs, and that's your absolute max. You cannot get past 8. Then you want to warm up with like 10 kgs at 50%, and then the third set is 75%. You do then like 50 kgs, right? But if you do that, obviously your bench press is going to be lower because you're going to be fatigued.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is that you just use this framework for a month or two, and then every once in a while just test your bench press, because it's very likely that if you do the weighted dips till failure, do the weighted pull-ups till failure first, and then do the bench press, you're not going to be able to push 140. So after a while, you can test that again. So that's what I would do, because you then create massive strength on it.
So like once a month, you would actually start with the bench press and do low reps, high weight.
Yeah, because obviously you want to know, you want to hit the 140, right? So obviously we have like the training is just to create the strength, and then we just have the days to actually just test it to see, okay, are we actually getting there? So what I would then do maybe is like one training where what we just described, one training because you're doing full body, right? Full body,
upper, legs, upper.
Yeah. So what I think I would do in your case actually is for the pull, I would just add the weighted dips.
So you have 3 days where you do some pushing movements.
Exactly. And then I think it's almost guaranteed to be able to hit that like in the next couple of months.
That will be sick.
All right. And obviously you have to track it, right? So in general, again, like some rules for making progression is just tracking it, and then also using that tracking to progress every week. So either an extra rep, improving the form, or adding some weight, right?
Yeah, progress.
Exactly, because if you don't do that, then you're just guessing, and that is not something we want to do. And then in terms, again, of these sets, so you always want to aim for 8 to 12 reps, and then again, 2 working sets. So the first set is warming up, and they have 2 working sets, right? Did you actually understand that part where I explained about 50%, 100%, 75%?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay,
That's a
great.
big change because right now I just do most of the times 3 sets till failure, of 8 to 12 reps.
Yeah. So yeah, now it's just like the first set is just 50% warming up. The second set is still failure at 100% strength, and then the third set also still failure, but at 75%. And then you just notice you get like way stronger, way quicker. All right. So
One
that
question
is,
so I
of
make
course.
sure. So I have the push, pull, legs, upper.
Mhm.
Would you do for the push and the upper, the training routine you just described, or would you? Because then I won't be benching like as first exercise on any of my trainings except for the once a month testing it out.
So I would actually pretty. I personally don't use push pull. I always have like upper body trainings, full body or lower body. So that's what I usually do. So I would actually do this upper body training, which is then what I told about the weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, the lat pull down, the bench press, and then at the end you can do some supersets or some calisthenic stuff or any isolation exercise you want. Then because you train 4 times a week, right? You want to keep that as well?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. So if you're training 4 times per week, I would then do like the upper, lower body, and then you can do like a push and a pull. It is difficult to kind of manage fatigue, but with the push or the pull, you can just start with the bench press. So I would just add the upper body specifically we just talked about to add like the extra strength, and then with the push you can still start with like the bench press.
Okay, cool.
And then also in general for us as entrepreneurs, one thing which is very important for your endurance and to come back to like focusing your energy is actually doing one training of high intensity VO2 max or fight sport. Why? Because at the end of the day, you want to kind of create a bigger battery, right? You want to extend like the capacity of having energy. And the biggest way to do so is by actually having a high intensity training, VO2 max training or fight sport training. So I believe you're now doing 4 strength trainings, right?
Yeah,
So
I do.
I would add like 1 endurance training every week.
So running, sprinting.
Yeah, so not necessarily running itself, because for example, if you run for a long period of time, it is not necessarily training So essentially why I say high intensity VO2 max or fight sport is that you actually want to progressively overload your heart, because your heart's pumping in your lungs, right? And running is actually very chill, and it's not really challenging after the first couple of times. So high intensity, a specific VO2 max training or fight sport is really challenging your heart and your lungs to literally produce. And that is, if you do it correctly, literally adding like 0.5% of like the capacity every training.
Yeah, I ran a marathon last year, and in the training once every 2 weeks or something, you had to do interval training as well, high intensity. Those were brutal, but they increased quickly.
Exactly, like those are the ones you actually want to continue doing. What I personally do is I do like a VO2 max 4x4, which is basically 4 minutes of running at like 90%, then 4 minutes rest, and then repeat that 4 times. And that's literally, it's destroying you. It's like, so difficult, but it's really, you feel your lungs like opening up. So that's great.
Well, yeah, you feel great after, not during.
Exactly. Not during, after.
What's the difference between VO2 and high intensity then?
So, for example, in high intensity, you have more or less the like what they do with CrossFit. So you have like running and jumping, like more high rocks stuff. That's what I would say. The high intensity VO2 max specifically are the things. So that's the 4x4. and a fight sport is just, let's say, boxing or jiu-jitsu or MMA, right? It's just slightly different type of training, but just either of those would work.
Okay. I can add one of those a week.
All right, so that is almost it. So obviously, what I usually do with my clients, we do like the medical diagnostics to really figure out exactly what is missing. So in your case, again, specifically because sleep quality has been such an issue, it would be very wise to actually just buy a Whoop or Aura.
Yeah.
Because that just allows to actually see, okay, how is the sleep quality? Like what is going on there? It shows us the recovery. It shows us how stressed you are during the day. And that just gives us insight in what might be actually causing the reason that you don't fall asleep or why you wake up tired. So that might be interesting. Obviously a blood panel, right? To just see, okay, where are key hormones, key nutrients at? Is my liver functioning? And where's my testosterone? Now, the GI map is a gut test. So what I thought initially, obviously, that if you have these crashes after each meal, it could point towards underlying gut issues. But if you think it's only happening after the high carb meals, then obviously the easiest switch is just to switch to the protein, fat, and fiber. But if you then still have the energy crash issues, then this might be something to look into. And then, the remaining ones are just if you want to really optimize it. But overall, this is literally it. If you implement this, I can almost guarantee that you can double like your energy and make significant progress, like in the gym, in a matter of like weeks.